Thank God it's Friday. Monday's a brand new start. Wednesday, you're halfway home, and Thursday, the weekend's not far. Saturday and Sunday, you hang with your friends. What can you say about Tuesday? Nothing, not a damn thing. Tuesday bites, Tuesday sucks, Tuesday blows, go away. Tuesday's crap, Tuesday's lame, Tuesday's dumb, go away. Tuesday, Saturday and Sunday, you hang with your friends. But what can you say about Tuesday?
Nothing except rain and snow in the forecast. Not going to be great. High temps right around 40. But looking ahead, mid-50s by the end of the weekend. I've got this weird cold thing that I'm dealing with. That's always awesome. It's more like a scratchy throat, can't stop coughing kind of thing. But it's not I don't feel sick. I just have yeah. So anyways, there's that. And it's show day. Breaking Benjamin, Daughtry Catch Your Breath at the Crosse Center. I know we've got some listeners coming down from Eau Claire on a Pulse party bus to hang out with us and have some good times. Can't wait for that. Hope to see a bunch of you at the show. Foo Fighters and My Darkest Days coming up in a bit. We'll get to Scott Robert Shaw in the newsroom for 3 Ways and Bad News, Happy Music. We've got New Release Tuesday. We'll tell you what's dropping and all sorts of other stuff to get to as well.
More of your rock mornings coming up in just a bit.
Rock Mornings, Brian Jean and Scott Robert Shaw in the newsroom. Super Duper Tuesday. Super Duper Double Secret Probation Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Get out and rock the vote, right, Shaw? Today is the day in Wisconsin. It's our primary.
Correct.
And throughout the state, people are voting on the presidency.
Even though it's already been decided.
Has it?
Well, we know that Joe Biden and Donald Trump will be the nominees.
I know.
So our vote in Wisconsin won't change that today.
Are you sure? What if they find some extra ballots hidden under a chair?
Stop it.
No? What if some of those early entry ballots that were sent in electronically through text message get found?
Yeah.
No?
You can't vote through text message.
What? This isn't American Idol? I claim shenanigans. But obviously, regardless of the presidency and who's running and who's in and who's out, there is other stuff, obviously, judges and board members and this,
correct.
that, the other thing.
It's not a big election. I mean, as we said, the presidential contests have largely been decided. There are no statewide races on the ballots today in Wisconsin, except for a couple of amendment questions that would deal with the Constitution. You'll have to flip that over. It's on the back of the ballot. But otherwise, you're looking...
so much work.
You're looking at races for school board, for county board. There's a local judges race as well. So plenty on the ballot today.
Yeah. Please remember to vote. I know it's frustrating sometimes. You feel like it doesn't really matter, right? It gets to Wisconsin, you're like, oh, we don't even have a say in whether or not Trump and Biden will be the president, right? It's just that's what's going to happen.
It'll be interesting, though, to see once the ballots are counted in Wisconsin, how many Democrats voted uncommitted, which is basically a show of frustration with the president and his stance on the Israel-Hamas war, and how many people will vote for, say, Nikki Haley on the Republican ticket to express their displeasure with Donald Trump. So we'll get some of that from the results.
All right, so what else is happening other than the rain and the snow?
The Israeli military has expressed sincere sorrow over the deaths of 7 aid workers who were killed in a strike on Gaza while stopping short of accepting responsibility. A top military spokesman said they're reviewing the incident at the highest levels. They say an independent investigation will be launched that will help reduce the risk of such an event from happening again. The strike hit an aid convoy, killing 6 international workers from the World Central Kitchen and their Palestinian driver. They were delivering desperately needed food aid that had been brought in by sea. The driver, who crashed through a fence at the La Crosse airport last fall and threatened to hijack a small plane, has been found not guilty by reason of mental illness. Cody Anderson has reached a plea agreement in La Crosse County Court on a charge of intending to steal an airplane. Other charges have been dismissed. Anderson could be sent to a hospital for treatment. He'll be evaluated before his sentencing hearing on May 10th. The incident at the airport happened last November. Several houses on a block near West Avenue in La Crosse could be replaced soon by a new apartment complex. The Benson Properties Company is seeking a rezoning of parcels on the 1100 block of Pine Street to make way for an 18-unit apartment building. Benson Representative Eric Glam spoke about the project before the La Crosse City Plan Commission yesterday.
So this proposal essentially knocks all those houses down, the old crumbling houses, and replaces those with a new structure that's about $2.5 million in terms of value compared to the $750,000 approximate value of the houses that are there.
The houses to be replaced are mainly rented by college students. The Plan Commission approved the zoning for the apartments and sending that proposal to the City Council. The owner and manager of a cargo ship that rammed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge before it collapsed are trying to limit their legal liability for the deadly disaster. The two Singapore-based companies filed what's known as a limitation of liability petition. That is a routine but important procedure for cases litigated under U.S. maritime law. They say the company that owns the ship, it lost power before it slammed into the bridge. The filing seeks to cap the company's liability at around $44 million.
I think they're going to get all of that.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. What's that going to cost to rebuild a bridge?
Oh,
$1 billion?
A lot. Especially a very important bridge like that. I mean, we're not talking about,
And it's long. It's a big bridge.
Yeah, it's like a mile long, right? Over a mile long, I believe. Yeah, so, yeah. It's going to cost a lot of money, Sean.
Somebody's going to pay.
Three-way with Scott Robert Shaw in the newsroom. Tell me about the rain and snow. Is it going to last all day here? Or what's
it kind of looks like. I mean, it's not going to rain all day, but we're going to have the chance of rain in the forecast all day. 100% chance of precipitation.
Okay.
Maybe a few snow showers here and there. That's true overnight tonight as well. But and then tomorrow, more snow and rain mixed and up to an inch of accumulation tomorrow.
Is that throughout the area or just here?
Yeah, pretty much. It's much of western Wisconsin.
All right. And it's not going to amount to anything in terms of snow. It's just going to be mixed in with the rain, right?
Yeah. Again, we may get an inch, but if we do, it won't last.
All right. More from Scott Robert Shaw in the newsroom throughout the morning, plus bad news, happy music. We got sports coming up in just a bit. Also some My Darkest Days. Right now, it's the Foo Fighters.
Rock mornings. On air, online, on the app.
Rock mornings with Brian and Gene. Porn star dancing from My Darkest Days. NCAA Women's Elite Eight last night. Number 1, Iowa beating number 3, LSU. An instant classic. Caitlin Clark, 9 3-pointers, 41 points, 12 assists, 94-87 final score. And in the other game last night, number 3, UConn beat number 1, USC, 80-73. So the women's Final Four is on Friday on ESPN. Number 1, South Carolina taking on number 3, North Carolina State at 6, followed by number 3, UConn taking on number 1, Iowa at about 8:30. That game also on Friday on ESPN. Brew Crew off yesterday. Their home opener is today at 3:10 against the Minnesota Twins. Yeah. Baseball season, of course, starting last week, and the Brewers on the road, getting a nice little sweep there in New York against the Mets, and now they're back home for their opener at Miller Park against the Twinkies. 3:10 first pitch. Speaking of pitching, Ronel Blanco in the last week welcomed a new daughter, made his first opening day roster, and then threw the first no-hitter in the major leagues this season. Did it last night against the Toronto Blue Jays. Astros, 30-year-old right-hander. Didn't play in the majors till he was 28, just a couple of years ago. Made his 8th career start last night against the Blue Jays and threw the major league's first no-no. 10-0 win against Toronto. Bucks were off yesterday. They're at Washington tonight, 6 p.m. First tip there. Only 8 games left in the regular season for the Bucks. Tennessee parting ways with their head coach, Kelly Harper, after 5 seasons, opting to make a change. Try to reinvigorate a program that played or hasn't played for a national championship since the late Pat Summitt retired. Stiff competition there. There's a competition there in women's basketball now. And sad news out of the NFL is former Dolphins cornerback Vontae Davis found dead in his grandmother's home in Florida. He was 35 years old. Rock Mornings, Brian, Gene, and Shaw. Get back to the music in a bit with some Blackstone Cherry. If you need something, get in touch with us. Visit rockmornings.com. That's rockmornings.com. All of our contact info there. You can listen live on the website. You can get in touch with us and check out the daily podcast as well. But rockmornings.com for all of our information.
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gene, and Shaw.
Welcome to April 2nd. April 2nd, major national holiday today. National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day.
I know you love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. It is peanut butter and jelly time.
Peanut butter, meat jelly.
Today it's time for the PB&J to shine.
Ta-da! Peanut butter and jelly.
The perfect PB&J.
Happy National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day.
It's showtime.
National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, Shaw. How are you going to celebrate?
I had a PB&J about, a few months ago for the first time in a long time. Like, that's really good. Why don't I eat these more often?
Tell me your PB&J story. Tell me about it.
I don't have a PB&J
Well,
store.
what's your, when you make one, what's your stitch here? Are we talking white bread, wheat bread, or whatever's available?
Well, I usually buy white bread.
Okay.
And Jif is the peanut butter of choice.
Creamy?
Creamy.
Okay.
Yes. And, for jelly, it's either maybe a raspberry or a peach or strawberry, something like that. And slap the two together, and away you go.
You have your choice of any jelly or jam that's out there. Which one are you taking?
Probably raspberry.
One-time offer. Raspberry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm a strawberry jam kind of guy, but I also like grape jelly.
It has its place.
When I do PB&J, I'm like you. I'm a creamy peanut butter guy. Jif is usually my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to buy wheat bread. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like old school Wonder Bread.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just because it's more affordable. You buy the 2 loaves for like $3 or whatever it is. They say the average American eats over 2,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches by the time they graduate from high school.
Seems about right. It's always there. It's always easy to put together.
Well, peanut butter is a staple, right? You have to have it in your house.
Everybody's got some in their
somewhere.
cupboard.
Unless you're allergic to peanut butter, right? Or peanuts. Peanut butter considered a delicacy in the early 1900s, only served in New York City's finest tea rooms. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. In May of 1896, an article published in the Good Housekeeping magazine, a recipe, quote, urged homemakers to use a meat grinder to make peanut butter and spread the result on bread. That same year in June, the culinary magazine Table Talk published a peanut butter sandwich recipe. So apparently peanut butter and jelly sandwiches really have only been around since the early 1900s.
Apparently. And you had to grind your own peanuts to make peanut butter.
According to the Peanut Board, during World War II, both peanut butter and jelly were part of the United States soldiers' military ration list.
Sure.
1968, the Smucker's Company introduced Goober, a jarred product that combined alternating vertical stripes of peanut butter and jelly.
I thought that was fancy as a kid.
Dude, I didn't realize it came out in the 60s. I remember it vividly from my youth in the 80s and 90s.
I was a kid, so.
1968. The best ways to observe Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, obviously eat something with peanut butter and jelly. Might be a good day to try something different, right, Shaw? So maybe baking something that has peanut butter and jelly in it.
Oh, there you go.
Have you ever seen like a peanut butter and jelly French toast recipe?
No, but that sounds pretty good.
Good Lord. Good Lord. Brandon said grape jelly is for the birds. Brandon, go F yourself. How about that, Brandon? How about go sit on it? How about your opinion doesn't matter, Brandon? How about you don't matter? Grape jelly is for the birds.
Literally.
Brandon woke up with a hair
Put them in your
across his
Oreo
ass.
feeder.
Yeah, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Big dummy. Dean, very wise suggestion here. Peanut butter and jelly on a waffle is a game changer.
Oh, I bet it is.
So instead of doing the syrup, you do peanut butter and jelly. Or you could take the waffles, Shaw, and make a peanut butter and jelly waffle sandwich.
Yeah.
Instead of using
Portable.
regular-ass bread. I'm going to use all that grape jelly too, Brandon.
Every nook and cranny.
Stupid-ass Brandon doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Who the hell names their kid Brandon? Someone who hates their children. Hey, let's call this kid Brandon, and then let's raise him to hate grape jelly. Jesus, could you get any worse as a human being than a guy named Brandon who doesn't like grape jelly? Good Lord. Brandon. Hi, I'm Brandon. I don't like grape jelly. Dork. Get in touch with us unless your name is Brandon and you don't like grape jelly. Visit rockmornings.com. I'm just messing with you, Brandon. Don't take it so personal. Brandon. Sorry, Shaw.
That's okay.
National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. Celebrate with a PB&J this afternoon.
Well, today is Election Day in Wisconsin. There are no statewide races on the ballot, which is likely to hold turnout down, but there are a number of local races, including contests for school board, county board, and a La Crosse County judge's race. Polls open at 7 this morning and will close at 8 p.m. An alleged hijacking attempt last year at the La Crosse airport has led to a negotiated plea for Cody Anderson. The Idaho man pleads no contest to a charge that he intended to steal a small plane at the airport last November. Police say Anderson rammed his car through a fence at the airport before getting onto a private plane and making threats. Anderson will be evaluated again and could be committed to a hospital at his next hearing in May. Representative Derek Van Orden will be part of a House delegation going to Israel later this week. According to Van Orden's office, this trip is being sponsored by the American Israel Educational Foundation. Members of Congress taking the trip are scheduled to meet with Israeli and Palestinian leadership to learn about the economy and possible technological projects involving Israel and the U.S. Van Orden previously traveled to Israel last October. Luke Hunter, the last living survivor of the USS Arizona battleship that exploded and sank during the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor, has now died. He passed away yesterday at the age of 102 at his home in California. The Arizona lost 1,177 sailors and Marines in the December 7, 1941 attack that launched the U.S. into World War II. Conter was standing on the Arizona's main deck as Japanese planes flew overhead. He then helped many of the wounded. He went on to fly 200 wartime combat missions in the Pacific. Although many treated Pearl Harbor survivors as heroes, Conter refused that label. He said those who died were the heroes. And the Powerball jackpot has climbed again to an estimated $1.09 billion after no one matched the six numbers drawn last night. No one has won Powerball's jackpot since New Year's Day, a stretch of 39 drawings without anyone matching the game's six numbers. If no one wins the jackpot tomorrow night, the game will match its record of 41 consecutive drawings without a winner on Saturday night.
Got a text from Dan, said my wife made a poke cake with grape jelly and then a peanut butter frosting. That sounds delicious. Mm-hmm. I got a text from a different Brandon, and he says, my name is Brandon, and I do like grape jelly.
Attaboy.
There you go, Brandon.
Stand up for what you believe in.
Doc says, PB&J moonshine shot before tonight's concert. Yes, please. I don't even know what the hell that is. PB&J moonshine. Is that like a flavor of moonshine, or do you like have to mix in stuff to make a moonshine with a moonshine?
I'm guessing it's flavored already, but I don't know.
Eric says, add original Lay's potato chips to your PB&J, like inside of it. You'll thank me later. I've had that. That's some
salty sweet. Yeah, I get
that's some day one stuff, man. When you're a kid and you're experimenting with sandwiches, when you're a kid and you find out the versatility that sandwiches have. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, I went crazy when I was a kid with sandwiches because I would come home and there'd be just all this stuff, ham and cheese and meat and barbecue sauce and mayonnaise and all this crap, and I just went nuts.
Mixing it all together?
Oh, God, man, I went crazy. Dagwood, if you remember Dagwood, obviously the comic strip, that guy would make these crazy-ass sandwiches.
Big-ass subs, yeah.
Pickles and all this other stuff, and somebody texted in from the 715, said grilled PB&J. I've had one of those. They're pretty good, Sean. Mm-hmm. So almost like a grilled cheese, but obviously peanut butter and jelly with the Bird's grape jelly. Brandon says, I don't think you got the pun. There's a pun about grape jelly and birds?
Well, for the birds. In other words, people use grape jelly in their bird feeders. So
they do?
Saying it's literally for the birds.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I put bird seed in my bird feeder, Brandon, like a normal human being.
Orioles.
Jesus,
like
this Brandon gets worse every time he says something. Every time he says something, it gets worse. Brandon, you should give up for the day. Go back to bed. You have failed miserably today already, and it's only 6:42. This guy, you think you missed the pun. Talking about bird feeders. Talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, not about feeding birds. Jesus, get with the program, dude. I think you missed the pun. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. This guy, unbelievable. Good Lord. Who let Brandon have a cell phone and a text message plan? I mean, seriously. If it's T-Mobile, they got to take it away from him.
Rock Mornings, only on 95.7 The Rock.
Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. That, of course, AC/DC with Hell's Bells. And yesterday was April Fool's Day, and even the Wheel of Fortune got in on the action, sending out Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars to be the host, along with Vanna White.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the stars of our show, Jared Leto and Vanna White.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and have a great show. See you soon. All right, everybody, grab those devices. It's time to give away some money. $1,000 in our first toss-up. The category is On the Map.
Jordan Catalano out there running the wheel. Like to buy a vowel. Eventually, he disappeared and Pat Sajak showed up. But a lot of companies yesterday trying to take advantage of April Fools. Nowadays, it's fake products. You see a lot of these on Facebook, social media. Obviously, the hot dog water thing from 7-Eleven, we all remember that from last week. That was no doubt an April Fool's prank. But the Velveeta hair color apparently wasn't. Yes, there's a Velveeta cheese hair dyeing color kit that's available, and it's actually a real thing while supplies last if you want to grab one. So give it a Google if you feel like turning your hair Velveeta cheese gold. Television tonight, The Weakest Link, Days of Our Lives special on NBC. Password, also on NBC, featuring Jimmy Fallon and Liza Koshy. New stand-up special over on Netflix today, Dimitri Martin, Dimitri Deconstructed. Also on television tonight, Will Trent, The Cleaning Lady, FBI, The Rookie, Shogun, The Good Doctor. Rebel Wilson going to be on with Jimmy Fallon late night tonight, along with Allison Brie. Jimmy Kimmel's talking to James Corden, Kim Fields, and The Defiant will also be on with Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert's got Savannah Guthrie and Tim Blake Nelson. Tim Robinson is going to be on with Seth Meyers and Jack Martin, along with Maggie Winters on The Daily Show. It's also New Release Tuesday. There's really nothing coming out. A movie called Amy the Visitor. A brilliant computer hacker who generally prefers the companies of computers to humans. I'm guessing that goes wrong. A movie called Easter Bloody Easter, a woman protecting her small town from the jackalope and his army of devilish bunnies as they embark on a murdering spree over Easter weekend. Also, Inside Man, Year One, starring David Tennant, Stanley Tucci, a prisoner on death row in the U.S., and a woman trapped in a cellar under an English vicarage cross paths in the most unexpected way. So that's what's new on New Release Tuesday. And on television tonight, take a break from the college basketball for a couple of days. Brewers going to be on this afternoon, 3:10 first pitch against the Twins for the home opener. Bucks on tonight as well. If you need something, get in touch with us. Visit rockmornings.com.
Rock Mornings, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9.
Kid Rock, ball with the ball, the bang-a-dang, ding-a-ding-ding-ding-dong, ding-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding. Kid Rock on Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. Mr. Beast, I'm sure you've heard of him. Partnered up with a company called Lectric to donate e-bikes to 600 people across the United States of America. Apparently, all these people desperately needed a way to get around. The bikes are collectively worth about $600,000.
We went to our partners at Electric E-Bikes to see if they wanted to help us. They donated $600,000 worth of electric e-bikes. We then asked you guys to nominate a person you knew that was in need of life-changing transportation. And after receiving thousands of videos of amazing people in need,
we were so excited to start giving them away.
Hey, this e-bike would change my life.
That will help me and my husband so much.
Lots of really cool videos of people receiving those e-bikes, making a big change in their lives. Unboxing videos, riding them for the first time, sharing how their new electric bikes would change their lives. But Mr. Beast, YouTube star, teaming up with Lectric to donate e-bikes to 600 people across the U.S. Over $500,000 worth of e-bikes. Nice job, dude. And I don't know if you saw this, but the blindfolded horse that got rescued by a helicopter earlier this weekend. Yeah, got spooked, ran off, ended up stranded in a river. And firefighters and emergency crews, this is in California, working to hoist that horse out of the river. The Santa Ana River was stranded there for almost a full day, almost 24 hours.
I was kind of trying to see if he might have been below his neck, but luckily you could see his wither in his back.
He's a dancer. Yeah, that horse dances, so I'm very close with the boss, and he's a beautiful horse.
Personnel with California Fire, the Riverside County Fire Department, and the City of Norco Animal Rescue Team and the Riverside County Sheriff's Office responded when a horse named Conquistador got stranded in the river. They had to throw a blindfold on him to keep him from freaking out. But they managed to get down there, get a big strap kind of sheet thing underneath the horse, and airlifted his ass right out of that riverbed. Apparently his legs were stuck pretty deep in the mud. Horse too tired to move, so used the sheriff's office helicopter to airlift the animal to safety. Diana Solis and her husband were out riding horses when two of them became spooked and ran off. One of them safely recovered, but Conquistador nowhere to be found. That's because he ended up in the river. And on Sunday, they were able to get the helicopter and a bunch of rescue crews in there and lift him to safety. Diana said, quote, "I'm happy. I'm glad he's okay. He's a beautiful horse. He dances. He's well taken care of and loved, so I'm glad he's okay." Yeah. Maybe don't ride him near the river anymore. Got Green Day and Guns N' Roses coming up. If you need something, you can reach out to us, rockmornings.com. You can also listen live on that website. Check out our daily podcast. Scott Robert Shaw in the newsroom next.
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gene, and Shaw.
Rock Mornings, Brian, Gene, Shaw in the newsroom. A mix of rain and snow, cloudy, cold, gloomy. Not a lot of fun.
Yeah, but some areas are going to get it worse than us. Some areas could see several inches of snow by tomorrow. Viroqua could see up to 6. The Dells 6 to 8. We're looking at probably less than an inch.
Yesterday, April Fool's Day. I'm not sure if you saw a bunch of these, Shaw, but the thing to do nowadays is to try and outrage people on the internet.
Okay.
By making fake products like the Wiener Water. 7-Eleven last week saying they were going to produce a hot dog flavored water. That, of course, was an April Fool's prank. Right. Some of the other companies that tried to get in on the action were Velveeta Cheese.
What'd they do?
They announced a new Velveeta hair dye. But it's an actual product. It really exists. You can buy it on Amazon while supplies last.
I can make my hair the color of Velveeta?
Yes. And it's not, there's no Velveeta cheese in the actual hair dye. It's just a hair dye with the color, that golden
that color
rubber color, whatever that is. Yeah, supplies limited for this on Amazon. $7.50 for Velveeta cheese hair dye, which, again, is a real product, not a fake product. Elon Musk on Twitter tweeted out a joke saying, "As we continue to celebrate transparency on this platform, all of your DMs and drafts will be made public. Bookmarks, too." Needless to say, some people freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
Krispy Kreme getting in on it, Shaw, yesterday, April Fool's Day, announcing that yesterday only customers could bring in anything they wanted and the workers there would glaze it. A corresponding image featured glazed sandwiches, pizza, bell peppers, and fruits. Can you glaze your laptop?
Why not?
Domino's claimed they were taking pineapple off the menu because, quote, "no one likes it anyways."
The age-old debate.
Obviously, we know about 7-Eleven and their hot dog flavored water. And there was a new product that came out yesterday, Shaw. I don't know if you heard about this one. You know what Rosetta Stone is, right?
Yeah. Language instruction?
Yes. New product called Rosetta Stoned with a D at the end.
Okay.
A mobile app that, quote, "bridges the conversational gap between novice users and seasoned stoners in any social setting." So how can first-time puff, puff, pass, pass get in touch with the Snoop Dogs and the Willie Nelsons of the world? Not a real app, by the way. You know who does get high, though, is Snoop Dogg. And he was on a podcast recently. Did you see this?
No.
With Tom Brady and Jim Gray. You know, Tom Brady's got this pot. When Tom Brady asked him the highest he's ever been.
Snoop, what was the most stoned you've ever been in your whole life? with Willie Nelson. We was in Amsterdam on 420, so we went back to his hotel room, and we was playing dominoes. So Willie had a vape, a joint, I had a blunt, and he had a pipe. And I'm just getting higher and higher and higher, and he just keep passing it to me, and I'm like trying to stop, but I can't because I don't want to show no signs of weakness. 15 minutes into the session, I say, Willie, hey, man, let's get something to eat, man. And we go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And when they bring the chicken from the drive-thru, they give it to us, and me and Willie both put our hands in the bucket at the same time. And we grab the same piece of chicken, Tom, and I look at Willie and I say, it's yours, cuz.
The Let's Go podcast with Tom Brady, Larry Fitzgerald, and Jim Gray. Tom Brady asking Snoop what the highest he ever has been, and Snoop says, if there's anybody that's going to outsmoke Snoop on this planet, Shaw, it's probably only Willie.
Right.
Willie might be the only person in the world that could outsmoke Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
And he did.
And he's 90, by the way.
Yeah. I could just see Snoop and Willie trying to outdo each other with the weed they got. You know, this crazy-ass weed and how potent it is. You got to check this stuff out, Willie. I got this from Cambodia.
Let's
Willie's
go get some KFC.
Yeah. And then they reach their hand into the bucket and touch hands, and their eyes lock across the seat of the bucket seat. I mean, what happens there between Will? Man, that must be a
Snoop
lot of
let
fun.
go. In deference to Willie.
Oh, of course. You pay respect to Willie. If he can outsmoke you, you have to give him the chicken. You have to say, okay, you've earned this chicken, Mr. Willie. Very funny, though. April Fool's pranks, you didn't pull any, you didn't get any pulled
I did
on
not.
you?
Nobody got me either, so
all right.
Grateful for that.
What else is going on?
The day of the spring election in Wisconsin may feel more like winter. The La Crosse area forecast is calling for rain and snow showers both today and tomorrow, along with wind gusts of nearly 40 miles an hour. There's a chance of some snow accumulating by tomorrow, likely less than an inch. Daily highs from Friday into the weekend could get into the 50s. Voters in 4 states, including Wisconsin, will weigh in today on their party's presidential nominees, a largely symbolic vote now that both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have locked up their party nominations. Biden and Trump are both expected to easily win their primaries in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. The tallies in Wisconsin could give hints about the share of Republicans who still aren't on board with Trump and how many Democrats are disillusioned with Biden. Wisconsin voters will also decide the fate of 2 Republican-backed statewide ballot measures that will shape how elections in the state are run and funded. The La Crosse area also has local races to decide for county board and school board. An Eau Claire man already behind bars is now facing more charges for allegedly trying to hire fellow inmates to kill the prosecutor who put him behind bars. 50-year-old Jay Conklin is serving time at the Stanley Correctional Institution for the sexual assault of 2 children. But he told a fellow inmate that he was railroaded during his trial and wanted to hire him and another inmate to murder the prosecutor of his case. Now, Conklin is charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree intentional homicide and solicitation of first-degree intentional homicide. For the 3rd straight year, the city of La Crosse is promoting No Mow May. This initiative asks people to promote healthier ecosystems in their backyards by not mowing their grass during the month. It is strictly voluntary. People can sign up at the city parks department website. Eau Claire also has a No Mow May observance planned.
Still no actual science that actually works, right?
Yeah, some scientists have said it's probably not really going to make that much of a difference, that if you really want to make a difference, you should plant some wildflowers in some part of your yard that can stay out through the summer.
Exactly what we have in our backyard.
Right.
They can kiss my ass.
And in its heyday, the Tropicana Las Vegas was known for its opulence. It was a frequent haunt of the Rat Pack and host to A-list stars like Elizabeth Taylor and Debbie Reynolds, while its storied past under the mob cemented its place in Vegas lore. But after welcoming guests for 67 years, the Las Vegas Strip's 3rd oldest casino will shut its doors for good at noon today. It's slated for demolition in October to make room for a $1.5 billion baseball stadium, part of the city's latest rebrand as a hub for sports entertainment.
Man, I'd be pissed if I was on a heater and they're like, sorry, folks, casino's closing. Got to get off your machine.
Chips and go.
Like, what? I just got on this thing. Trying to win back that $50 I put in. Yeah, I'm assuming that Oakland is still moving there. I mean, they seem to think they are, but I see the city of Oakland's trying to offer up some kind of contract extension to get him to stay for a few more years, but the fans aren't going in.
Well, and the mayor of Las Vegas hasn't exactly been welcoming to them either.
Well, not only that, but they're still in a lawsuit with the teachers board, right? Isn't that the deal?
I guess I haven't followed that.
There's some kind of funding that goes on with the teachers union or whatever out there in Vegas, and they were in the court system. I don't know if that got resolved, but yeah. So they had, I want to say they had somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 fans announced attendance at those games in Oakland this past weekend.
Yeah, when the season opened, yeah.
And that
fans are protesting. Yeah.
Oh, well, the majority of them are sitting out in the parking lot.
Right.
And protesting.
Not going into the stadium because they're upset with the team ownership.
Well, and you're talking about a stadium that holds, 30,000, 40,000 people?
Probably, yeah, typical Major League stadium.
And so a tenth of those people are supposed to be inside, and that's not even if you see the games, if you see the actual footage of it's terrible.
Right.
There's
so hardly anybody there.
Right. That's not 3,000 people, more like 300. It's pathetic. Yeah. They have, and I don't know. I guess if you go to Vegas, right, it's just a thing for people to do while they're in Vegas. So do they really care? Is anybody there going to be invested in the team itself? No, it's just another thing to do it's like a show, when you go to a casino, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, you'll get people, let's say Brewers fans, for example, if the Brewers are playing whatever this team from Vegas is going to be called, you might make a Vegas trip out of it. Right. Go catch a ball game, but also do all of what Vegas has to offer.
Or it's, you're there with your family, right? Because Vegas has turned in, or trying to at least, kind of rehab its image and go into this more like family-friendly vacation. Come here for a week and, go to the water parks and do not just gambling and, burying bodies out in the desert kind of thing. So, yeah, you can go there with your family, and then while the kids are with you, you can go take in a baseball game. But, I don't know, man. I think that the Athletics have done so much damage to their image, that ownership group. I don't know if they can come back from it. I mean, moving to Vegas, yeah, it might help them a little bit, but their fans are gone, man. They want nothing to do with it.
And is Vegas going to embrace them as their hometown team? I mean, that'll be something to follow.
Yeah. We'll see, I guess. Three-way with Shaw in the newsroom. Thank you very much. We'll get back to you in just a bit. We've got Bad News, Happy Music on the way. Friggin' sports, daily check-ins. You can get in touch with us by visiting rockmornings.com. Here's Green Day.
Rock Mornings on 95.7 The Rock.
Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. That is Guns N' Roses. And got a text from James in Altoona, who is apparently running for school board. Good luck, buddy. Also wanted to hear some Mudvayne. Get to that here in a bit. Get in touch with us like James did by visiting rockmornings.com. That's rockmornings.com. Elite Eight wrapping up last night for the women. As number 1, Iowa beat number 3, LSU in a rematch of last year's championship game. This time, Caitlin Clark got the better of Angel Reese. 9 3-pointers, 41 points, 12 assists. Iowa moving on thanks to a 94-87 win. In the other game last night, number 3, UConn beat number 1, USC 80-73. The women's Final Four on ESPN on Friday. Starts with number 1, South Carolina, taking on number 3, North Carolina State. That game right around 6 o'clock. And that'll be followed by number 3, UConn, taking on number 1, Iowa. Brew Crew off yesterday. Their home opener is today at 3:10 against the Minnesota Twins. That's the beauty of having a roof in the Midwest, is that when the weather sucks ass like it does today, you can still get a ball game in. Bucks were off yesterday as well. They're at Washington tonight, 6 p.m. Only 8 games left in the regular season for the Bucks. Over the weekend, as number 3 seed North Carolina State and the number 1 seed Texas prepared to play an Elite 8 game in the 2024 Women's NCAA Tournament, the coaches took a look at the floor and noticed that the three-point lines were uneven on opposite ends of the court. The lines were then measured prior to tip-off, and it was confirmed that the distances were different. The teams both agreed to play the game anyway to avoid a delay. North Carolina, of course, North Carolina State beat Texas 76-66 to reach the Final Four for the second time in the program's history. Wolfpack in the Final Four in both men and women's tournaments. The uneven three-point lines didn't really impact North Carolina State either, especially their guard, Isaiah James, who drained 7 of 9 shots from behind the arc in the win. But still, they got the lines wrong on the three-pointer. You can't figure that out? Minnesota Wild forward Ryan Hartman suspended for 3 games for throwing his stick towards officials after Saturday's 2-1 overtime loss to the Golden Knights. NHL's Department of Player Safety revealed the ruling yesterday after a phone hearing with Hartman to discuss his unsportsmanlike conduct. Yeah, you can't be throwing sticks at the refs. I get it, dude. They made a bad call. Can't be throwing a stick, though. And Colorado, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. University of Colorado confirming yesterday that Pro Football Hall of Famer Warren Sapp has now been hired as a graduate assistant coach under head coach Deion Sanders and has enrolled in graduate-level continuing education classes as well at the CU Boulder Graduate School. So Warren Sapp going to be part of the program there and going to school and getting a degree, I'm assuming, at some point. But there you go. Sports, Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. We'll get back to Shaw and some Lincoln Park in just a bit. Also get to that mud vein for James and Altoona.
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gene, and Shaw.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
We're going to talk about Fight Club, Shaw.
Okay.
We're breaking the rules a little bit.
They just said don't, but...
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gina, and Shaw. Who'd win in a fight? These are just random, faceless people, Shaw. A 70-year-old man.
All right.
Or a 13-year-old child. Assuming it's a male. Male on male, female on female.
I'm going to go with the old man.
Really? You'd be in the minority.
It's okay.
65% of people said the 13-year-old would take it. Obviously, I don't think we're talking about a fight to the death, right?
Right.
I mean, we're talking about one person obviously wins the fight. The fight is over, right? There's no escalation when it comes to weapons or anything like that.
It's not a legally sanctioned boxing match.
No.
It's just going at it.
I think it's a bare-knuckle brawl in the streets, right? And at some point, someone takes a beating so badly that the fight is over, Shaw. Hypothetical question, completely unrealistic situation. There's some pretty badass 70-year-olds out there, Shaw.
Right. They've been around, you know?
They've seen some things.
They've been in their share of fights. 13-year-old probably doesn't know how.
But there's also some pretty badass, mouthy little 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
Who might be coming from the wrong side of the tracks. Maybe they've seen some things, Shaw.
Maybe.
When we had those 10-year-olds down in Florida last week that were trading guns for weed at school. I wouldn't want to fight a 10-year-old that's trading weed for guns at school. Who knows what that kid's capable of? Then you got guys like Chuck Norris, who's like 84. You want to fight Chuck Norris?
Nope.
Not even at 84, Shaw.
Nope.
Definitely not at 70, 14 years ago. He was still in his prime. Take a look at yourself, Shaw. You're closer to 70 now than you are to 13, right?
By far.
Do you think, at your age right now, that you could fight and win against a 13-year-old child?
I would like to think so.
Let's assume that they're about the same size, too, right? Let's not...
I'm about the size of a 13-year-old, so that's...
Right.
Makes it fair.
Let's say that they're not some, like DJ Burns who plays for North Carolina State. The guy's, 19, 20, whatever. He's a massive
6'9",
human being.
320, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy, right? And there's been the big 13... I mean, watch the World Baseball, the Little League Baseball World Series or whatever. You see some big 13-year-olds, right?
Right.
So let's assume that you guys are the same size. Somebody did a poll on this on Reddit, and only about 1,000 people took the quiz, Shaw. So not a huge swath of people when it comes to the answers, but 65% of people said the 13-year-old would take it.
Oh.
Again, it depends on the type of 13-year-old you're talking about.
And the type of 70-year-old. Some ex-military dude or something,
But yeah. I mean, you think about some guy that maybe was in the Marines.
Knows what combat is about.
Went to Vietnam, right? Maybe did some tours in Iraq in the 90s, Pushing his 70s. I'm not fighting that guy. What if it was a video game fight?
Then I'm going with the 13-year-old.
Like a couple of rounds of Street
joysticks
Fighter
in their hands.
Yeah. James from Altoona said old man. He's taking the old man. Again, I think if you've got a frail old neighbor guy, you know what I mean? Who's 70.
Well, if he's on oxygen, I'm not betting on him, but.
Got a walker, maybe wearing Depends, poops himself. Probably not going to put my money on that horse. You know what I mean? But the same could be said about a 13-year-old. You got some kid who lives in mom's basement, plays a bunch of video games.
Thinks he's tough.
Right. Drinks a lot of energy drinks. Gets wired up. Once that energy wears off, kid, you're all mine. Welcome to the Thunderdome. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I'll outlast you.
Well, and you could even just hurl insults at some of these kids and hurt their feelings, and the fight could be over, right, Shaw?
Mm-hmm.
And you start hurling insults at me, whatever, man. I had an abusive father. You couldn't say anything to me that my dad didn't already say. What do you got? Nothing. So you're taking the old man.
I am.
All right. I would take the old man, too. I think and you look at the way people are taking care of themselves nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well into their 70s.
You can still be in good shape at that age.
70's the new 60, right, Shaw?
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a 7-year-old.
Yeah, me too. He's been around.
Well, and them 13-year-old kids. Let's say it's a kid that takes karate class, right? He's going to try to use that karate. The old guy's just going to be, whatever, dude.
How about a little elbow to the jaw?
Now, you get a little kid, 13-year-old kid in a jiu-jitsu class, Shaw, one of them MMA classes.
Well, that's different.
Oof. Yeah.
We're not talking professionals here.
No, we're just talking average, run-of-the-mill people. You're taking the old guy?
I am.
I'm taking the old guy. Most people seem to be taking the old guy.
Cheering for the old guy, too.
James in Altoona texted in and said, old man. Ryan texted in and said, Shaw doesn't need to imagine the size difference. He is the size of a 13-year-old.
Yes, as I said.
I think you admitted to that.
Mm-hmm.
Jake texted in, so Jake Paul or Mike Tyson, basically the same conversation.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, but Jake
Except they're both professionals.
Well, look, Mike Tyson is way past his prime. The last time he fought, it wasn't good. Now, you can watch the training videos and say Mike Tyson's going to kill the guy, but it's just like quarterbacks at their pro day. They're thrown against air.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not fighting somebody.
Doesn't really tell you a whole lot.
And Mike Tyson famously said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing could be said for Mike Tyson. Yeah, you got a bunch of good training videos, but Jake Paul comes in there and hits you with a right. And all of a sudden, different story. And I'll give Jake Paul credit. Like, for a guy who, for all intents and purposes, is not a professional boxer, or at least didn't start out that way. Right. He's put a lot of work and effort.
Oh, for sure. He's gotten better.
And he's gotten better. So, But yeah, I like I said, if Jake Paul is smart, he'll lose the fight to Tyson, come back, win the second fight, and then the third fight, for all the horses, who really cares?
And then you got 3 paydays, yeah.
Then you got huge, massive amounts of money. It's like, do these guys not know about trilogies? That's how you do it.
1, 2, 3.
I'm not saying you can't lose it on purpose, obviously, because now you're talking about gambling and all that stuff and throwing a fight, but yeah, I'm going old guy. Salty old dude. Get off my lawn.
I mean, granted, there are some 13-year-olds who could handle themselves well and come out on top, but by and large, yeah, I'm taking the 70-year-old.
I think 70-year-olds are just more worldly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like more experience.
The experience, I think, really plays a difference in this one, Shaw. All right. I'm glad we're in accordance. What else going on?
Well, voters in 4 states will weigh in on their party's presidential nominees today, a largely symbolic vote now that both Joe Biden and Donald Trump have locked up the Democratic and Republican nominations.
Who?
Yeah, Biden and Trump are both expected today to easily win their primaries in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. The decisions will nevertheless offer some clues about enthusiasm among base voters for the upcoming 2020 rematch that has left a majority of Americans underwhelmed. Former President Trump will continue to hammer Joe Biden over his border policies during a trip to 2 pivotal Midwestern states that could determine the outcome of the 2024 election. Trump will deliver a speech in Grand Rapids, Michigan on what his campaign called Biden's border bloodbath. Biden's campaign preempted the speech by accusing Trump of doing the same, hammering Trump for his role in killing a bipartisan border deal that would have added more than 1,500 new Customs and Border Protection personnel in addition to other restrictions. After the Michigan stop, Trump will head to Green Bay as the state votes in its presidential primary today. Wisconsin Democrats have been busy organizing. They have 44 field offices throughout the state. The Trump campaign is yet to name any Wisconsin state party leaders or organizers. A high-speed chase between Minnesota and Wisconsin yesterday ended with 1 arrest. Polk County deputies tried to stop a stolen truck out of Minnesota as it headed into Wisconsin's Barron County yesterday morning. Deputies from the Cumberland Police Department, the Polk County Sheriff's Department, and the Wisconsin State Patrol all joined in the chase. The stolen truck was driven into Turtle Lake before the driver stopped the car and gave up. 32-year-old Aaron McNamara of Forest Lake was taken into custody on charges of fleeing an officer. Caitlin Clark made 9 3-pointers and finished with 41 points and 12 assists as Iowa knocked defending national champion LSU out of the women's NCAA tournament with a 94-87 victory, advancing the Hawkeyes to their second straight Final Four. Top-seeded Iowa will play UConn in the national semifinal game. That will be Friday night in Cleveland. And Americans were in sports bars from coast to coast last night, their eyes glued to televisions. This was not Monday Night Football. It was Monday Night Women's Basketball. Caitlin Clark in Iowa topped Angel Reese in LSU, while Paige Beckers in UConn topped Juju Watkins in USC. The rewards for Iowa and UConn were trips to the weekend's Final Four. But the biggest winner may have been the women's game, which seems to be soaring in popularity because of its star power. And last night's matchup certainly did not disappoint.
You got to hope that they see this and continue to promote the upcoming girls, because Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark aren't going to be around forever. Neither is Paige Becker. So, you got to start taking a look at some of these upcoming girls.
Exactly. Well, that Juju Watkins for USC, she's just a freshman.
Right.
And she's on pace to break Caitlin Clark's all-time scoring record if she keeps going as she has. So there's some, it's not just a couple here and there.
Right.
This is a growing sport.
Got a text from Mike, said, my name is Mike, but my kid is 12 and bigger than me. Scared. I don't know if Mike is scared of his 12-year-old or if his 12-year-old is bigger than him and scared of him. I don't know. Mike, your text is kind of nonsensical. Ryan texted in and said, my old man is 75, had a stroke, has one good side, was in Vietnam as an Army scout, said he would smoke a 13-year-old.
Yeah. Might even fight dirty if he had to,
Yeah, I think most people would say the 70-year-old, Shaw. Now, you moved to 80?
That's a different story.
Yeah. I'm probably taking a 13-year-old. That's like, who'd win in a, would you rather fight, Shaw? One horse-sized duck
right.
or 100 duck-sized horses?
Exactly. Pick your poison.
Always go small. It's easier to just start kicking things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you got to fight 100 of them. That one horse-sized duck, man, it's going to take a lot to bring that sucker down. I'm going with 100 horse-sized ducks or duck-sized horses. There we go. Gotta be careful. Say the wrong thing.
Yes.
Three-way with Shaw in the newsroom.
Rock Mornings on your rock station.
Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. That is 3 Days Grace, just like you. They're big, they're fat, they're fluffy, they're snowflakes, and they're falling right now. Not causing any problems in terms of accumulation, but still just annoying. Looking ahead to this weekend, temps in the mid-50s, some sunshine finally, and next week looks like we'll get into the 60s. Knock on wood. More from Scott Robert Shaw coming up. Also get to Bad News, Happy Music, the friggin' sports, our daily check-ins. You can get in touch with us by visiting rockmornings.com. Check out the daily podcast. Listen online. Find all our contact information. rockmornings.com for all of that and more. But yeah, snow and clouds and dreary in our area today. Offspring coming up next.
More of your Rock Mornings coming up in just a bit.
Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. That is, of course, the Offspring with Come Out and Play. Warriors. Come out to play. Michael Fassbender is 47 years old, played Magneto in some of the X-Men movies.
You have no idea what I've done. I know that you took the things that mean the most to me. Well, maybe you should have fought harder for them.
Also was the android David, I believe, and Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Assassin's Creed, 12 Years a Slave, Inglourious Bastards, 300. Bunch of other stuff. Michael Fassbender, 47. Pedro Pascal is 49. He is the Mandalorian. Also in The Last of Us, great series on HBO. Looking forward to the return of that. Game of Thrones, Narcos. He was in Wonder Woman 84, right? Wasn't he the bad guy? Yeah. Pedro Pascal, 49 years old today. Clark Gregg is 62. He, speaking of the MCU, he played Agent Phil Coulson on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was in 5 of the MCU movies, including Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers, Captain Marvel. Clark Gregg, 62. 79 years young today, Linda Hunt, You may not recognize her real name, but you might remember her as the principal of the school in Kindergarten Cop.
Will you tell me something? Don't lie. What did it feel like to hit that son of a bitch?
It felt great.
Well, tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lynn Hunt, 79. Marvin Gaye would have celebrated his birthday today, but he died back in 1984, one day before his birthday, when his own father shot him to death. 1939 to 1984, Marvin Gaye. Let's make love tonight. This was one of those songs that I always got weirded out when it came on the radio when I was in the car with my mom, because it is called Sexual Healing, and he says sexual all the time. When you're like 5, 6 years old and you're in the station wagon with your mom, you're like, am I supposed to be hearing this? Yeah. I don't know. May have affected me psychologically moving forward. Born on this day in 1914, died in 2004, the one, the only Obi-Wan Kenobi, Sir Alec Guinness.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Ah, yes. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Also born on this day in 1908, died in 2003, Buddy Ebsen. Played Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. He was supposed to be the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, but had to drop out because he was allergic to the makeup. Interesting. Texas Tea. Yeah, Buddy Ebsen, the comedian, actor, who played Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies, born on this day in 1908. Also on this day, April 2nd, 1970, 54 years ago, the movie Patton in theaters, starring George C. Scott as World War II General George S. Patton. The movie went on to win 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Director.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed.
Maybe that's why I don't get soccer, because it ends in ties. It can, at least. So can a football game, but it's rare. 35 years ago today, 1989, the Mega Powers exploded. One of the best WrestleManias ever. WrestleMania 5, Macho Man and Hogan fought for the WWF title, and for Miss Elizabeth's heart, Hogan, of course, won both.
If you want to come at me man to man for the belt, I would beat you 1, 2, 3. That would be okay. Try and talk some sense into this guy, man. Try and talk some sense into him. Oh, big time. Oh, God. Want to be a champion? Want to feel what the madness is all about? Get out of the way.
Hogan saved Randy Macho Man Savage when he was getting beaten after Elizabeth went back and brought him out front to the ring. They became the Mega Powers, and then the jealousy set in. Where was Hogan's hand? Where was his hand when he was hoisting Miss Elizabeth up? I remember it well. WrestleMania 5 on this day in 1989. 29 years ago today, speaking of WrestleManias, this was one of the worst. While WrestleMania 5 might have been one of the best, 95, WrestleMania 11. That was the Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor WrestleMania, and it wasn't good.
Don't smoke crack.
Thank you, LT. Yeah. I don't know what it was. Vince was high on LT, trying to do that crossover thing. I get all that, but man, it was not a good pay-per-view. WrestleMania 11. And on this day in 2005, Pope John Paul II died at the age of 84. He was succeeded by German Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict XVI. He retired 8 years later, and now we have Pope Francis. So the Pope, back on this day in 2005, died at the age of 84. There you go. Some birthdays and pop culture dates. We'll get to some old school Metallica from my plow guy up in Eau Claire. Wanted to hear some old school Metallica. Dealing with Mother Nature today, man. Sorry, bud. We'll get to that in just a bit.
Rock Mornings. On air, online, on the app.
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gene, and Shaw. She is in Alabama, not dealing with the snow and the cold and the dreariness that we are. Got a text from my plow guy in Eau Claire. Says, last week I said Mother Nature is a psycho bitch. Today she is just downright evil. Can't take her anymore. Ready for some warm days, a beer drinking, Harley cruising. Can you help me out with some old school Metallica? If you hook me up, I'll buy you a beer at the Bank Stadium in August at the Metallica show. Stay cool. Thanks for keeping me sane. I'll get to your old school Metallica here in just a bit, but I feel you, bud. I've had the Harley out a couple of times now, Shaw.
We've been kind of spoiled, so.
Well, we had days where it was in the 70s, and you're like, how can you not?
Right.
Guys on the golf course, dudes out on the Harley.
But we knew this was Wisconsin, and it's April, and we can see this happening now and again.
It is supposed to get back into the 60s next week, right?
Yes.
Okay.
50s for the weekend, and close to 60 by Monday.
All right. So we'll just deal, and I'll get to that old school Metallica for you in just a few minutes. Right now, Shaw in the newsroom for another three-way. What's going on?
Well, much of western and central Wisconsin will see a rain-snow mix today. And La Crosse is expecting to see more rain than snow. But some areas could see up to 6 inches of snow by tomorrow. Viroqua could see up to 6 inches, while the Wisconsin Dells could see 6 to 8. La Crosse is expecting no more than an inch. Eau Claire is expecting less than an inch of new snow. An alleged hijacking attempt last year at the La Crosse airport has led to a negotiated plea for Cody Anderson. The Idaho man pleads no contest to a charge that he intended to steal a small airplane at the airport last November. Police say Anderson rammed his car through a fence at the airport before getting onto a private plane and making threats. Anderson will be evaluated again and could be committed to a hospital at his next hearing in May. Wisconsin's presidential primary this year comes too late to make much difference in the race for the White House, but there are plenty of other items on ballots around the state. Polls opened at 8 o'clock. Opened at 7 this morning. They'll stay open until 8 o'clock tonight. La Crosse County Clerk Jenny Dankmeyer says the lack of suspense in the presidential balloting might keep the numbers down.
Clearly, with the presidential primary kind of being a non-issue on this ballot, I think we won't have quite the big turnout that we were predicting. But I think with the county board contested race, we have judicial races, there's some local races, and then school district, that we're still going to have a pretty good turnout. I'm predicting that we're going to be probably between 35-40% countywide.
The county turnout last April was 52%, but that's when voters were deciding on a Supreme Court race, a crowded contest for the La Crosse School Board, and a school funding referendum. As more than 2 million graduating high school students from across the U.S. finalize their decisions on what college to attend this fall, many are facing jaw-dropping costs that can be as much as $95,000. A number of private colleges, some considered elite and others middle of the pack, have exceeded the $90,000 threshold for the first time this year as they set their annual costs for tuition, board, meals, and other expenses. But the sticker price only tells part of the story. Many private colleges with large endowments are focusing more than ever on making tuition affordable to a range of students.
Large what?
I'm sorry?
They're well endowed?
Large endowments, yes.
They're well endowed. These schools are well endowed, Sean. You said it, not me. Has school it's always been expensive?
Yeah, not that expensive though. This is the first time they've ever crossed 90,000. That's a year, by the way, per year.
Yeah, but I mean, we do have inflation.
Yes. Some schools have held their tuition rates steady. Wisconsin, for example.
Minnesota's doing that, right? They froze their rates, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Wisconsin did for a number of years before finally raising them a year ago, and now they're going up yet again by 3.5%, something like that. But it's nowhere near $90,000 to go to UWL or UW Eau Claire.
Can't get in there. Go to Eau Claire. Let's see. Got some clarification from Mark, Mike sent in a text, said, my kid is 12 and bigger than me, scared. And I said, are you scared of your kid, or is the other way around? He said, he's scared of how big he's going to be.
Oh, yeah. The
kid is a gentle giant. The 70-year-old would win, is what Mike said. Somebody from the 715 area code texted in and said, I'm with Sylvester Stallone all the way. How old is he? I think Stallone's like 80, isn't he?
I think he is, yeah.
Like legit. I think he's legit in his 80s. Might even be like mid-80s at this point. He's not a spring chicken anymore. But he's ripped. I mean, he's still got it. I wouldn't mess with him either. Some of these 70-year-olds, man, they'll kick your ass.
He is 77.
Okay, so he's almost 80. Gotcha. I'm assuming this snow and rain and stuff is going to last all day?
On and off, yeah.
Okay.
And into tonight and into tomorrow as well. So, yeah. Next 24 hours is going to be a little soggy.
You got any good news?
No.
Nothing?
I got nothing.
Not one iota? Not one shred of good news?
Not in this particular newscast.
Ugh. And you are the bearer of bad news today. And we got bad news with happy music coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeesh. All right, we'll get to that, and we'll get to our daily check-ins in a bit. Right now, it's that old school Metallica.
Rock Mornings with Brian, Gene, and Shaw.
Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. That, of course, old school Metallica. Jump in the fire for request for the plow guy in Eau Claire who is sick and tired of Mother Nature. I hear you clucking, big chicken. Also got a text from Chris who said F yeah with a bunch of devil horns. Thank you, Chris. T-Stat texted in and said, if Shaw doesn't have any good news, should we be worried about how bad news is going to be? I'm not too worried about it. We'll be all right. Try to keep it tongue-in-cheek. NFL arbitrator ordering the Arizona Cardinals to pay $3 million to former executive Terry McDonough for false and defamatory statements the team made about him to the media, according to a decision filed in federal court on Monday. Arbitrator appointed by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell determined that the Cardinals and their owner, Michael Bidwell, defamed McDonough, quote, with malice in a multi-page statement to media organizations that accused McDonough of spousal abuse and neglect of his disabled adult daughter. Dude, I would be so friggin' irate. This guy's attorney filed the decision in the U.S. District Court in Arizona on Monday as part of McDonough's request to the court to confirm the award, saying, quote, despite what we consider to be a fundamentally unfair arbitration process, Terry McDonough is the first person ever to win against an NFL owner, said the lawyer in a statement. Why the NFL has not held Michael Bidwell accountable remains a mystery. Well, I can tell you why. The guy's a billionaire. That's why. And those guys can kind of get away with whatever they want, at least for the most part. The Cardinals also issuing a statement yesterday saying, quote, we are pleased with the arbitrator's decision dismissing all of Terry McDonough's employment claims and finding that there was nothing improper about his dismissal from the team. As for Mr. McDonough's other claim, we respect the arbitrator's determination that our initial statement went too far. We accept responsibility for that statement and are grateful that the arbitration is now resolved. What a dick move. You say this guy abused his wife and neglected his disabled daughter? And the best you can come up with is we respect the arbitrator's determination that our initial statement went too far? Ugh. NFL, by the way, declining to comment on the story. Wow. That is a couple of people that are probably never going to come to an agreement or sit down at a table and break bread ever again. Start accusing this guy of beating his wife and disregarding his disabled daughter. The arbitrator comes in and says, yeah, you owe him $3 million. You defamed him. And the best you can do is that you can say your claims went too far, a little too far. Bro, that is a lot too far. You didn't say the guy was a nose picker. You weren't saying that the guy bit his fingernails or had really bad psoriasis. I'm talking about some serious allegations there. Man, oh man. The friggin' sports. Rock Mornings with Brian and Gene. We got bad news, happy music coming up. Also some Mammoth in just a bit.
Rock Mornings. Only on 95.7 The Rock.
You're about to enter a beautiful, exciting, wonderful new world.
A cockroach living in your nostril. Now that's just nasty. Add in some Haven't pooped for 30 days.
Poop is raining from the ceilings. Poop.
And sprinkle in some hashtag Florida Man for flavor.
Florida Man.
Florida Man.
Florida Man. Florida Man. Florida Man.
Florida Man.
Florida Man quits his Burger King job, steals all of their chicken nuggets.
It's bad news.
Bad news.
With happy music.
Let's rock.
A snowy, gloomy Tuesday edition. What do we got, Shaw?
Well, in our hyper-connected world, it may seem like loneliness is a thing of the past. But a new survey suggests that even in the midst of our bustling social lives, many are struggling with profound feelings of isolation. New research of adults, 2,000 people, found that a staggering 40% have gone at least 3 days without a face-to-face conversation with another person.
There's something wrong with that?
I mean, how is that even possible? If you're holed up in your apartment and you order DoorDash, you still need to go to the door and, receive it.
Not necessarily. I mean, you could have them leave it at the door and you pick it up. It's all app-driven.
I suppose. This lonely in a crowd phenomenon seems to hit young adults the hardest. 60% of those between 18 and 24 reported feelings of loneliness.
So this is something that they actually are unhappy with.
Yes. Correct.
And they don't feel compelled to go outside and just try to meet people?
Well, that's part of it. What's driving this epidemic of loneliness? Part of it may be our reluctance to open up about our feelings. Only 14% said they often talk to others about their loneliness, and 62% believe there's a stigma around the issue. But keeping the emotions bottled up can take a serious toll. The study found that loneliness negatively impacts confidence, anxiety levels, and sleep for many people. The good news is there are steps we can take to combat these feelings. 43% believe that bonding with someone through a shared experience would make them feel less alone, and a third said that being part of a community or a group or achieving a personal accomplishment could help alleviate loneliness.
Well, I mean, you spend all your time in front of a screen and,
right.
You work from home. And
I mean, that may be making the problem worse, really.
I just read a report today that younger people are more comfortable doing first dates online, like with a Zoom rather than actually going somewhere.
Never thought of that.
That makes no sense at all.
How do you get a goodnight kiss from?
How do you get anything?
Right. A man in Atlanta is in custody after allegedly ramming his car into a barrier at an FBI field office. It happened just after noon yesterday when the driver of a car with South Carolina license plates tried to follow an employee's car through a gated entrance. The entrance's pop-up wedge barrier engaged, as it does after every vehicle passes through, and the suspect rammed right into it and destroyed his car. The man then got out of his SUV and tried to run inside past the gate, but was tackled soon after. A bomb squad and a search team checked the vehicle as a precaution, which was cleared. No weapons were found. They have not yet identified the suspect, but said the man was taken to a hospital for an evaluation.
Oy.
A flight from Honolulu to Anchorage, Alaska, left the island Friday night and was 90 minutes into its flight when the forward bathroom of the aircraft suddenly began to malfunction, leaking water everywhere.
Is it poo water?
No, this was actually sink water.
Okay.
Rather than continue on the 6-hour journey to Alaska, the captain of the flight made the decision to turn back to Hawaii so the problem could be fixed. Video captured by passengers shows flight attendants scrambling to mop up the water, as throwing as many blankets and paper towels onto the floor as they could find. Some witnesses said there was as much as 2 to 4 inches of water running down the aisle of the plane.
How much water they got on that plane?
Right? It's believed to have been a malfunction with a bathroom sink rather than a toilet, meaning the water flowing through the plane was clean. The plane was in the air for a total of 2 hours and 18 minutes before safely landing back in Hawaii. Passengers were then rebooked on other flights.
I think you should be able to vote.
When you're on the plane?
Well, look, the plane already has the water on it somewhere, right? It doesn't just come from the ground because you're in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So the plane has a holding tank with all the water in it.
Of course.
So at some point, the water's going to run out.
True.
We can't just stay in the air with all the water just sloshing around. I mean, we're going from Honolulu to Alaska.
That's a long trip.
And we've already got into this flight almost 3 hours. Now we got to turn all the way around. Oh, God.
How'd you like to have your feet sitting in water, though, for hours upon hours?
Oh, I wouldn't like it at all, but you're already in the air 3 hours into it, and the water's going to run out at some point, right?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Gatorade not only quenches your thirst better, it tastes better, too, idiot.
You're drinking the wrong water.
Gatorade.
H2O.
Gatorade.
H2O.
Also up in the air, a plane, a United 777, had to return to the airport after poop from broken toilet flowed into the cabin.
Oh, that one I'm for. That one.
Soon after taking off from Frankfurt, Germany, passengers on board the aircraft reported a foul smell coming from the toilets. Cabin crew found one of the toilets in the plane was defective. Passengers said the contents of the waste tank overflowed and entered the cabin. The engineers...
Where the cockpit is, you mean? Or where the passengers
Where
are?
the passengers are. They couldn't find a solution, but the plane kept circling over the sea as they were communicating with people on the ground, trying to figure out how they could deal with this problem. Ultimately, it returned to the Frankfurt airport. Passengers were given hotel accommodations for an overnight stay and then rebooked on a different flight to San Francisco the next day.
I'm putting both those on my list, Shaw, of reasons to never fly.
Not to fly, yes.
You got the poop water, and then you got the regular water, cracks in the windshields, engine failure, crazy people on the plane. It's just no thanks, man.
Okay, well, here's one more
Lord.
airplane story, but this one happened on the ground. A couple out for a walk in Indiana was hit by a crashing plane. It happened near an airport in Muncie, Indiana. Two of the victims were out walking on what's called the Cardinal Greenway, a walking trail near the Muncie airport, when a private plane fell out of the sky and crashed into them. It's unclear if the people were struck by the falling plane itself or by debris as the plane collided into the tree line that surrounded the walking path. The pilot and the two pedestrians were rushed to a hospital. The status of their injuries not clear. The FAA is now heading to the crash scene to investigate.
I'm walking here.
Just trying to have a walk.
Just walking, and you get hit by a plane. What are the odds? 30-year-old woman in Florida named Amber McCann was caught shoplifting from a Walmart recently, and she had no shortage of stories for why she was stealing.
Okay.
In a very confusing discussion with police, she initially said she was playing a really fun game called 21, where someone grabs as much merchandise from a store as they can, walks out without paying, and tries not to get caught. She originally said
that's not a game. That's called shoplifting.
That's called shoplifting,
It's theft.
She originally said she dumped the items along with her purse and ID in a random car, and that's part of the game. But she later said it was a rental car that her boyfriend had and that he didn't know about her theft because he's too old to play the game.
Whoa.
Police eventually figured out which car it was. They found more than $1,000 worth of stolen goods in the back seat. They also found drugs, including marijuana and meth, along with drug paraphernalia, and along with bars of silver and copper, which, of course, were not from Walmart. Amber was charged with theft, possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and trafficking of meth.
Can't get bars of silver and gold at...
I don't think so, no.
Silver?
I mean, never looked.
We used to play a game when I was a teenager where you'd go around and you'd fill up a cart and just leave it in an aisle.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And you'd, leave it there and you'd leave the store without taking anything and you'd just laugh because somebody would have to put all that away.
Right.
And how long does it take before it gets abandoned? And part of it was putting frozen stuff in there. So it would thaw.
You guys were terrible.
Yeah, of course I was. I told you I was a juvenile delinquent, man.
Yeah.
These were the things that delighted me. But I wasn't trying to steal any of it.
Well, good.
I did that on a separate trip.
I'm doing an investigation right now. Apparently somebody walked out with a
car. Put it in a random car?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Would you come over by the car with us?
Whose car is it?
I don't know.
Me neither.
So where's all your stuff you took out of the store? And
I put it in a random car that was open.
In a random car that was open?
Yeah.
For what?
Because y'all were coming and I just ran up to the car and put it. It's a game that we play. It's called 21. It's basically like you go and steal on the field and you get out without getting caught.
So
well, I did it one other time than this time, but I got caught this time. So now I got to figure out where my purse is and where my merchandise is because now I got to give all the merchandise back to Walmart. Well, it's not really a game.
Yeah,
it is a game.
It's theft.
To you,
that's
theft. It's fun too. It's really fun. Oh, going to jail is fun.
We allow these people to exist in our society and vote and reproduce and breathe. And for some reason, I'm the bad guy because I want to eliminate these kind of people from our world.
Define eliminate. I mean
eliminate, Shaw. I mean, no longer on the world.
Got it.
Whether it's in Mars or somewhere else, I just don't think they should be a part of our program. They obviously didn't get the memo. The society or their parents have failed them completely. They're listening to TikTok videos or wherever the hell this moron learned this thing and is trying to call it a game. And she's just walking around being in... look, and again, as a person who did all this in their youth, I learned from, trial by fire here. I learned from experience. I'm not saying that... But at some point, you got to become a productive member of society, right?
One would think.
And trying to call stealing a game, and yet you're able to just go out and make decisions that affect other people. You know what I mean? Like having children and voting. We're allowing these people to do that. We got to stop letting these people do that, Shaw.
Well, let's keep them off the meth, too. That might help.
Yeah.
And here's a story with a Wisconsin connection. It's quite bizarre. A former hospital administrator in Iowa City, Iowa, has pleaded guilty to an identity theft scheme that spanned 3 decades and caused the victim to be falsely imprisoned for nearly 2 years.
Oh, snap.
58-year-old Matthew Kierans of Heartland, Wisconsin, has now pleaded guilty to a false statement to a credit union and aggravated identity theft.
So he stole one person's ID?
Yes, many decades ago. Attorneys presented evidence showing Kierans and his identity theft victim had worked together at a hot dog cart in New Mexico back in the 80s.
Man, Kierans hot dog cart.
Yeah, I know. Kierans used the victim's identity for the next 3 decades in every aspect of his life, getting documents and a Kentucky birth certificate in the victim's name. He was hired at an Iowa City hospital as a high-level administrator 10 years ago using those false documents. He worked for the hospital remotely from his Wisconsin home. In 2019, the victim, who was homeless at the time, went into a branch of a bank in California in which Kierans maintained an account. He told employees that he discovered someone else was using his credit and had accumulated debt. When the bank manager asked the victim a series of security questions, the victim couldn't answer them. So Kierans was contacted. He faxed over a series of phony ID documents, and so the police arrested the victim on 2 felony charges. The victim continued to maintain throughout the trial that he was not Kierans, but the judge in California found the victim not mentally competent to stand trial and ordered him to go to a California mental hospital.
Boy, oh boy.
The victim spent 428 days in jail and 147 days in a mental hospital. Well, when he was finally released, he, again, tried to regain his identity and discovered where Kierans was working and told the hospital about the fact that this guy had stolen his identity. Kierans initially insisted that this guy was just crazy, but they did a DNA test, and sure enough, they were able to confirm their true identities, and Kierans later confessed. He now faces a possible sentence of 32 years in prison.
3 decades.
Crazy.
3
Can't get your own name back.
decades. And you have to go to a mental institution.
Right? And a jail.
Spend a bunch of time in jail, and then get out and get DNA tested to prove.
Right. Something's broken with our system here.
Yeah. We're letting people like that out, and we're letting the lady with the Walmart cart walk around and vote and breathe and reproduce. We need more of these people to get on the ship, Shaw.
Send them to Mars.
Send them to Mars. Let's start that colony, man. I don't know. Do we really want the morons starting the colony up there for the rest of us to show up someday? I want Matt Damon up there with his poop potatoes. He seemed very...
He knew what was going on.
He was working, man.
He had a plan.
Well, yeah, he wanted to get back to Earth. It's a game. You load up a cart and then you take it, and it's
right.
Yeah,
isn't that fun?
Yeah, it's called stealing. It's theft. It's a crime. It's not a game. Then I just threw it in somebody's car. I don't even know whose car it is.
Yeah, the story didn't really add up.
Meth. Bad news, happy music. Thank you, sir. Talk to you tomorrow.
Rock Mornings, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9. Call.
Hello?
Email.
I tried emailing you.
Text. So many ways to check in with us. Check. We rely on you guys for traffic updates, requests, and all sorts of other stuff.
Check this out.
Rockmornings.com. Find the website, get in touch with us, listen online, check out our daily podcast, all that stuff right there at rockmornings.com. Text from Josh. Said, when I was in the Air Force, every flight we took was so anxiety-inducing. 200-plus people on a flight with absolutely no bags checked. Like there aren't crazy people in the Air Force. It was just so wild to me. Never flying again. I just see so many things wrong with the airport industry, the airline industry. I mean, this whole Boeing thing, people, quote-unquote, committing suicide, whistleblowers disappearing, door plugs flying off, cracks in the windshield. I mean, it's nuts, man. And then you couple that with lunatics getting on a tube and people that are unchecked. I'm good. I'm all right. Don't need it. If that means I can't go places that I got to go, I got to fly to get there, then so be it. I just don't, man, I've been on plenty of flights and God forbid, never had a problem. Not a major problem, but It just seems to be getting worse and worse. Statistically speaking. Yeah, I get that, but Ogre texted in, said, you're not a bad guy. We need to remove the safety mechanisms and let Darwin sort it out. Yeah, when you have to have, and it's all legal stuff, right? It's, for the most part, it's all about getting sued. I mean, when you have a commercial with a bunch of people on the moon doing wheelies and jumps and all that stuff, and it's a commercial, and you have to have a disclaimer on the commercial, don't attempt this at home, I mean, that says a lot about where we're at. Mike agrees with Ogre, says the first step is to remove all warning labels. Too many stupid people are being left to reproduce. Yeah, and again, I don't know if the warning labels really deter any of that stuff. I think it's more just for litigious purposes. You know, it's just so that, oh, you can't sue us. It's right here on the bottle. You know what I mean? It says don't drink, and you drank it. So that's on you. You didn't read the disclaimer here. Thank you, Mike. Brenda said, had someone tell me once there should be a license to have babies. I'm not going that far. I do find it odd that you need a license to go fishing and all sorts of other stuff, but, you know, morons like this lady down there in, what was that, Florida? That think that stealing is a game are allowed to just do whatever they want, walk around and vote and have babies. Chris, again, with the warning label, says the moron thief is the reason we need to eliminate warning labels. Yeah. Do those people seem like the type that are reading the warning labels? I don't think so. Thanks for all the correspondence this morning. Good to hear from you guys. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate it. Keep in touch with us. Visit rockmornings.com. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.